Hi, everybody. This is Theresa J. Morris. We're going to do Ascension Center Ohana, sort of a spiritual show today with Thomas A. Hawksblood, or Tommy as he prefers to be called, and Russell J. Kellett, or RJ as he likes to be called. And I'm Theresa J. Morris, and I like to be called TJ. So we're older people. So I guess Tommy would be HB for Hawksblood. I don't know. Tommy, what are your initials? I know RJ's. We're all
HB.
older. What would it be?
HB.
It would be HB.
Initials.
RJ. We sound like we're principals in a big CEO corporation. We're doing this together in UK, Hawaii, and Florida. So I'm on the East Coast in the bottom half of the United States for all you international people. And RJ is over in the UK, and I'll let him tell you where he's calling from. And this is for Tommy's Sunday show. And we're going to do Ascension Center Ohana, and we'll try to not say any bad words, and we're going to try to be spiritual. But we all three have had death experiences, our out of body, our astral plane. But Tommy and RJ can go into that. So let's let each person introduce yourselves. So Tommy, you want to let RJ go first, or you want to?
Yes, let Russ go first.
All right. RJ, you're our guest. If you can be still a minute, you're making me seasick.
The problem is, I've been messing about with laptops trying to get on the show, and I'm on a tablet. So the problem is with tablets, you buy them and you just... How do you keep them upright? That's a problem. I'm not used to them.
Oh, okay. So you have to set it up against a book or something upright, and then let it. But you look good if you can hold it still.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of like trying, TJ. I'm trying. I've got nothing sort of like around at the moment. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, yeah, had quite a lot of strange things happen. Yeah, like when all this started with me originally, like missing time abductions, what have you, I became really ill and was rushed into hospital a number of occasions. And to be honest, they didn't know whether, my family didn't know whether I was going to, come out, because they said if it's one of 5 things, they won't be making it out of hospital. I were in an isolation ward for 3 days, and my family couldn't actually see me. They could see me through a window. That's, for 3 days.
Isolation for what? Were you isolated?
Oh, no one knew. No one. This is it. The problem was, I just were talking one Sunday morning. My dad had got the newspapers and what have you, talking to my dad. And I was just looking at something in the newspaper, and I was talking to him, and all of a sudden, I could just feel my memory being taken from me. Oh. And I was talking, and it was coming out all just mixed up. And, sort of like, I'd been in and out of hospital. I had CAT scans and everything because I was just not well, And at one point, I mean, obviously not now, obviously, I'd lost 5 stone, and this is before this, and they couldn't make out what was going on. And they said you shouldn't lose 5 stone in a matter of like a couple of, I think, or about 4 weeks. So that was the first time. I'd come out and I was still going in hospital, in and out for checkups. And all of a sudden, this happens Sunday morning, reading the paper, and I could feel, my mind, the memory. I could feel memories being taken from my head, from my brain. I can't explain it to you other than I could feel it. I could almost see it being taken from my brain, from my head. And I was just looking at my dad and mumbling and talking, and it wasn't coming out right. My words were mixed up, and my dad shouted at my mum, and he says, I'm going to have to take him, there's something wrong. And he drove me to hospital, which were about 10 minutes away. My dad got me there in 5, and an accident and emergency. And he said, there's something wrong with my son. And they said, had I taken anything, you know, all sorts of things. And he said, no. Excuse me. And so I was in hospital, and they told my parents, you know, it's not good. You know, I had memory loss. I couldn't talk. I couldn't see. I could just about hear. You know, and you know, 3 days I was in, but they couldn't explain it. They could not explain it. I had more CAT scans, you know, sort of like brain scans, you know, sort of like, and they could not explain it. The only thing they said they could put it down to was, what was it now? What they said was migraine, a severe migraine.
Okay, or TIA, transient ischemic attack, TIA, a little fleck of maybe something off of cholesterol, or it can make your brain act fuzzy or funny or forgetful. I've had that.
Yeah, well, at first I thought it was going to be, you know, so, what did they say now? I'm just trying to think what they said. That they said it wasn't a stroke, like it could have been like a seizure, you know, a few things, but there were 5 things what they said, and these 5 things were like not good, and sort of like, you know, and there was something like hepatitis, there were a brain tumor, you know, all these things. Anyway, the thing is that obviously I'm an abductee, and I've been talking about this, lost friends through this. People don't realise, you know, I used to have friends. You talk about being abducted and you talk about what's happened, and you lose friends, you know, and people don't want to talk to you. You know, I used to have a motorbike and have friends with bikes, and you know, it's been abducted. You know, it's been watching Close Encounters and what have you. People don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean? So anyway, all this is happening, and I'm, you know, I know they're saying that it's not good. You know, my pulse, all my levels, all these levels, what you've got are all going almost flatlining, right? And this is a second time. This is the second time. The first time it was bad enough, but this time now we're dealing with memory loss now. You know, blindness, you know, loss of speech, sight, hearing. So I'm laid down, and I'm thinking I'm gonna meet God. You know, and no fear. I'm gonna meet God. It's just something I just can't explain really, but so that's one of the things. But I've said this time and time again. You know, I had nothing like this before these episodes of, you know, going missing time, coming to in the middle of a road and going through a tunnel. Meeting these aliens, these tall aliens, and basically being taken and put into a military unit as a soldier. I never asked for that. You know, that ain't me. Anybody that knows me, that ain't me. You know?
Tommy, you've never heard RJ's story, have you?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, it's the first time, but he is an abductee. He's one of our historians. He has probably some of the best files in the UFO business in the UK. And RK, do you have your clippings of your newspapers or anything there close by to show Tommy, or maybe he can check later on your Facebook page, or how are we going to show your archives in the future? Should we put them in UFO Association? Because
What I can do, I've got one of the oldest archives going back to 1950.
Okay.
And, you know, before that, one of the first reports of a craft landing in 1945, just outside of where Winston Churchill, where he lived, his residential home, just the last days of the war, a craft landed there. Then we've got photographic evidence going, you know, to the 50s. You know, most of this have never been seen. I've got, you know, like books. You know, I think there's about 6, but I can show you them. I can walk up and get them and show you if you like. But the problem is, I might lose connection, or I could bring them down.
Well, we'll figure that out, because I'm working with a lot of historians, and a lot of people are scanning their older paper files to get them into the internet. So we'll just have RJ Kellett, and I'll put your picture and your link wherever you're going to scan them in for people to peruse in the UFO Association in the UK. Now, Tina Bird is in it too, and she handled the event with some pictures, and she's been doing shows with Tommy. Tommy, have you put in the can very many shows with you and Tina Bird in UK?
Well, we've been doing every week up until this Tuesday, because she had to be with family for Christmas. I still did the show with Sergeant 18. So, yeah, we'll be doing the shows every Tuesday. Anybody wants to become part of that. Her story is incredible as well. She has a lot of proof. I worked in the UFO world half of my life, and 25, 30 years ago, I had incredible proof. If I was trying to prove it to other people, I was just trying to understand the situation, because the girls I met lost their children, had sonograms done of the baby, and then it was missing, and all those kind of things. So there's real proof out there that there always has been. But sadly, in the UFO world, they rather deal with stories than proof. Mainstream media is based on, I guess, ever since Ancient Aliens came on, they've been really promoting UFO conferences. And all their stuff is just theories on things of artifacts.
Can I just say something, Tommy?
Sure.
You know, you mentioned Tina. I know Tina well. Now, the strange thing is, Tina had the same thing happen to her as me. When she went into hospital, and she had the same thing. She was in hospital for the same time, right? And they told her the same thing, that she had a migraine attack for 3 days. She was also in an isolation ward. Now, you tell me, is that coincidence? No, that's not coincidence.
Well,
Sorry, Tommy.
She had a problem with her getting her X-ray. I mean, the video of her operation. When they cut the object out of her, excuse me, I don't know.
You tired?
Chemtrails here.
Oh, okay.
What I want to say is, when they took this object out of her, they filmed it. She went to court, but she can't get a copy of that. And to this day, she said she tried the whole year to get a copy of that. They won't give it to her. They said it's confidential. I said, how could it be confidential about her?
Her file, yeah.
It's a video. She wanted it, and they won't give it to her. Well, as I said, it was a mess. So, and you know, it's funny. She had a lot of implants put in her, and a lot of people I know did, and they cut them out and they lose them. But my friend Sergeant 18 has an implant. I don't know what he's going to do with it. He's actually going to be going public with it now. I know the person that was collecting implants tried to have them all analyzed, and they just be metals that they don't have no clue how they work, what they do, if they even have a mechanism inside it. So it's a small bit of evidence that we had for many years. Not that it actually helped much in the UFO world as far as proving aliens created them. But what's his name? The person that died,
The doctor that was doing that in California.
Dr. Lee or something, whatever his name was.
Did he work with Daryl Sims or Steve Colburn on that?
Well, he worked for himself. He was removing implants for people that had implants. And he had a couple hundred when I met with him.
Yeah.
But he did a video of one moving in a person's arm as they were trying to cut it out.
Yeah.
And then after they cut it out, it had no energy. And once it was in the arm, it had all this energy and everything. So the technology for them is way beyond anything we could perceive. So that's not going to help us explain UFOs to the world. And I only had one other person who actually had, it looked like a pine cone, but if you could see my fingers, about that big. And it looked like a steel pine cone. He brought it to between 12 and 16 metal companies to see if they could make it or anything, and they all said they couldn't. Not out of the metal that it was. It was two metals. They said they could make a copy of it out of lead, but they said they could never make it out of steel. So his friend shot it off a ship, and then his friend was killed. So, I mean, it's the real evidence we have is far and in between. And right now, I know there's a big thing for NASA, the Navy, asking for any evidence of UFO stuff. Well, I don't think if anybody goes to them, they're going to bring it to them, that's for sure.
You know,
so we're in a place. Go ahead.
You know, you're talking about, I mean, I've had implants taken out of my eyes, right, and my nose and my ears. Now, since it happened, the last time I was about nearly 3 years ago, and I was on Facebook saying the first time in a long time they've come tonight, and they've done something and taken implants out of my ears, my nose, and my eyes, right? Yeah, and since then I've had a problem with my right ear. I'm deaf in my right ear more or less because I keep on shouting. My sister says you're shouting us all the time, because I can't hear out of this ear. So, you know, the implants, they put something in. I hate going to dentists and anywhere where there's these chairs that go back, you know. Oops.
Well, a lot of people will be interested if they've had similar experiences, or some just because they're doing research on other people that have had experiences. And what is that noise? That's second time. Is that a timer, Tommy, for you? Is that
no,
bell?
It's some message coming in on my cell phone.
Oh, okay. Well, well, Tina Bird, since we dropped her name, how is she doing right now? So she's away for the holidays, and she'll return for 2020?
Well, no, we'll do a show Tuesday before New Year's.
Okay.
But here's the thing. She was exposed, and I'm saying it, she didn't prove it yet, to great amounts of radiation. Her dog is. She actually found out her dog is. And I said, why didn't you get yourself tested at the same time?
I'm going to sneeze.
Well, right now, she's going through the serious problems of radioactive poisoning. I feel she's not going to be around a long time. So I said she should get it tested, at least prove that happened to her. Because most people don't realize, if you get taken on a ship, really, not dream-wise or any mental way, psychic way, your body's exposed to radiation.
Sorry.
Now, and there's very few people that have the effects of it like Tina does, but she was abducted so many times, I said they might have been able to keep her low quarantined or whatever you want to call it. But she's losing all her teeth. They don't know why. All right. Her hair's falling out, and her fingernails are falling off.
My goodness.
She's that's the basic effects of radiation. So now I told her she's supposed to get it done sometime this month to get checked for radiation. I said, but seriously, there's no cure for it yet. I mean, there's vitamins and herbs that they say go on and help your body fight it and things like that. But she needs to prove it to herself. I told her straight out when I first met her. I said, get checked for radiation. And now she lost 4 teeth in 2 months. And they don't know why, how. And then her fingernails started falling off, her hair's falling out. I mean, she still looks nice, she still looks good, but, and I'm sure they don't want her to die, the race that's using her. So, I mean, they'll probably do everything they can to keep her around the best they can, but the effects of the body is pretty hard to protect them from natural things that go wrong inside it. Her Her story is incredible. Her story is as good as yours or the same. I mean, when you get abducted for real and you're on a ship and they start doing things like sticking implants in every part of you and things like that, there's a reason why they want to know who you are and where you are.
I think they already know who we are and everything. Otherwise, they won't be taking us. You know, that's obvious. That they're not just taking us by chance, willy-nilly. They know exactly who we are. They know where we're from. They know his DNA and everything. I've had the same thing. I've just been writing in my book about this, about when I went in hospital and been asking, had I worked with anything that was highly radioactive in my job? And because I had the facial burns on my face. I mean, we're talking now, this is out already and has been out since 1998, right, yeah? I've been talking about my story about this since 1998, for goodness sake, right, yeah? The very people, and the thing is, you should have seen this because I put the clips up on my Facebook when I was writing the book and the script, and it made the newspapers and what have you. So well documented. Now I was talking about meeting the aliens. All this was going on in my life, being taken to hospital, etc. You know, like I'm talking about. And I worked with radioactive materials and what have you, anything contaminated. They also asked one of the two doctors stood talking and says, if I didn't know any better, I'd swear that he had like space sickness, right? So I'm space sickness, being out in space
like
for a long,
astronauts in our space.
yeah, being out in outer space.
Like,
so all this is in, you know, I'm writing about, and this is well documented because what I did was I bought my what you call your medical report. So I bought all my medical reports going back just before I went, before I left school, when I had to go see about, I had a lump at the back of my head and I was getting a lot of migraines and I was seeing things, you know, and, you know, shadow people. And I was seeing a lot of UFOs. Then I was beaten up and I had head injuries. And when I came out, I wasn't the same and I could see things even more so, you know. So all this is it'll be in the book with the documentation from the hospital. And one of the things in my medical report, which is so funny, my doctor, right, yeah, on his notes, he says, Mr. Kellett is in a UFO group. Well, why would he put that? You know, why ask me if I've worked with, you know, anything like radioactive material? Yeah.
Right.
But one thing, my dad worked in the military. He was in a tank regiment and he worked on a secret project. And I've got a picture of him and the atom bomb they let off. And they were firing atom bombs out of a tank, depleted uranium, and letting off low yield atomic bombs, you know, very low yield. And so they could basically throw them at the enemy and more or less be next to the enemy and then leg it back after they've let one of these things off. And on his jacket, right, it says atomic umpire. And him and his crew, you know, stood there with the berets on, with the tank regiment logo, and it says atomic umpires. And I've got pictures of
like
him
in a game, like football game or umpire, baseball game. An umpire or empire, EMP or UMP?
No, umpire, which means you're part of this test. So the part of the test, they're an umpire, part of the watching and you know, atom bombs going off and what have you. And I've got
Umpire, like a UMPIRE or Empire?
yeah, umpire, yeah,
All right,
umpire.
umpire. I've not heard of an atomic umpire. That's a new one for me, anyway. Have you,
Well,
Tom?
nobody has because it's top secret. That's just it. It wouldn't talk to me about it. It wouldn't talk to me. But I got photographs through his friend, right? Yeah, of the atom bomb going off. Him
Put it
stood
in your
there.
book.
Pardon?
Put it in the book you're writing. Scan it into your computer for your book copy.
I'm not allowed to.
I was going to say, he doesn't want to die too soon.
Oh, you're saying it's still
I'm not
classified
bothered.
this long?
I've been threatened since 1989, for goodness sake. You know what I mean? If they want to come and try it, they're quite welcome.
After the atom bomb, but that was World War II, wasn't it? Are we?
No. It was 1956. It was in the.
Still, it's been 50 years, hasn't it?
It was a conscript. It was national service. It was national service. Over here, you had to go do your national service for 2 years, and they put him in this hole over in Eastern Europe and Germany. So he was over there.
Okay.
You know, being shot at by Russians apparently as well.
That story about the 25 years, you're allowed to come out and say stuff about it. You can, but if it's something they don't want you to say, they'll still take you out after you.
No, what they can do, right? Yeah, they can take that what you've signed, the Official Secrets Act, and what they can do is they can reinstate it with another 25 years.
Right.
So, you know, it's up. They can do what they want. They rule the world, don't they? You know.
Well, what country?
And those suckers vote for them. When they come for election, we vote for them like suckers. And no matter who you vote for, you're still a sucker because they're all the same.
Well, what city are you closest to? He's in the United Kingdom. You're outside of London, England. You're in England.
Thank goodness I'm outside London. Yeah, thank goodness. God.
So you're near Tia.
Pardon?
You're near Tina?
Yeah, quite near. Yeah, quite near. Yeah.
Are you in the same city, Tina Bird?
No. I'm about 60 miles away.
Oh, okay. About an hour, Tommy.
But he's close to it, though, really. I'm just saying because they have a lot of action going on over there right now as well. I went out last night for 2 hours, and I usually see a bunch of ships going by, but I have this light ship that keeps blinking at me. It blinked on and off here, there for the 2 hours I was outside last night. So when they say UFO and this, that, it wasn't. I don't call them UFOs. I call them a light ship. Because a UFO, if you've seen it move, it's usually they're not lit up. It's not a ball of light, a light ship. So you can, because Sergio and I, we shot more ships than anybody else in the United States, different kinds of ships. Yeah. And they each have characteristics. I mean,
you filmed them, yeah?
Yeah, filmed all kinds, every kind.
1980 to, what year did you start filming?
In 96.
So you have files 1996 till when did you quit?
Well, we separated around 2000 for about 20 years. And then we made friends again. And then he came on a show with me on Kerry Cassidy's show, Project Camelot. We did a show there for 9 months. But we were putting pictures up every week. We put 2 to 4 pictures up every week. The whole time we were doing shows of every kind of creature, alien, ship. I mean, he filmed bizarre things like a 5-foot mushroom, fish flying through the air. We heard a dragon. We got its footprint, but we never got a picture of it because it was invisible. So we dealt with all kinds of creatures. But that was all because of the Montauk Project and the Philadelphia experiment. Yeah, I was involved with that.
Can we address that for a minute? Because RJ and the people listening may hear this for the first time. Tommy Hawksblood and I have been working together, RJ, since 2012, but we only did audio. We're just this
Right.
into 2019 doing video together. But Tommy lived in New Jersey and grew up in New Jersey. His mother was very affluent with the mayor in one of the cities, right, Tommy? She
Yeah.
worked for the mayor, or was it the governor of the state?
Well, she worked with the mayor. The
Mayor.
mayor of
But explain to him where you lived, and because I went and visited up there, and I'm familiar with some of the places as a truck driver, and I had a clearance to deliver. Men that did not have a government clearance would have to drop their trailers in New Jersey, so I could take them where they were taking them out of country on Desert Storm. You know, the it was basically supplies going over. But Tommy, tell them about what was going on Montauk Point. I went up there in '69, I think. 70.
we dealt with more with I mean I went out to Montauk as well, but we dealt with Wanacue, New Jersey. That's
Montague.
where that's where the most destructive things happen. Tesla worked with DuPont. Tesla was working with an alien race at that time.
Nikola Tesla, the
Yeah,
scientist that worked with
yeah.
Einstein, or
No. Uh,
not Einstein, Edison, Thomas Edison, right?
no.
Similar, the same one, Nikola
Tesla
Tesla.
Tesla was working
Yeah.
with an alien race,
Okay.
but he was working with DuPont in Jersey, up in Wanacue, New Jersey.
All right.
A ship crashed there. All right, my friend filmed that, and then he got involved with it. But at that time, the government bought out the city, and there was Wanacue Reservoir. They flooded the whole city, and then for 6 months, the army was stationed around it while UFOs went in and out of the reservoir. So
Was
whether
it the Army Corps of Engineers, or were they like military combatants or National Guard?
military combatant people stationed
Real
around
So
it,
they'd be like SEALs. They'd be
yeah,
like SEALs.
wait
Yeah.
to see if there was going to be a war or what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But he lived right there in Wanacue, right next to where the Wanacue Reservoir is, right near where Tesla was working with DuPont. It's an underground city where they worked. During that time frame, we did all our UFO research there from '96 to 2000. I mean, we saw all kinds of weird things. But I got to see Tesla's notes where he said he was working with an alien race. But that reservoir, they built a bridge over from Jersey to New York, which was the reason why they said they were building the reservoir. I mean, but they flooded it. And where we went, there was a residence of buildings that were exploded. But the only things that were left were these triangle posts. Oh, they said, well, that was the post for the railroad trains that mined. They were saying they were mining iron at the time, which was the most ridiculous story because we found a steel plate inside the mountain. You never could get inside it. And on the
Excuse
other
me just a
side,
minute.
we had a
Can you close
fence,
the door? Thank you.
no bars up in the mountain. We
Sorry.
couldn't cut those bars. We tried all kinds of things to cut it. We couldn't cut those bars. But that's where Tesla was working with DuPont underground there. And that's where the ships were coming down and everything else. But they said, oh, it was just this, that, and the other thing. But in the mountain, picture a steel plate in the mountain about maybe 30 feet wide, about 25 feet high, half circular. And there's between that and the opposite side of the small river was a steel bars with like a small entrance to a cave. And the space in between was about maybe 30 feet. So for them to say that these trains came in there and they were mining iron and all that, it was a ridiculous thing because there's no way they could have turned into these tunnels. So, but in the interim, we saw so many creatures there, including dragons and you name it.
Really?
How can
But
you
what
see
happened?
dragons? Is it interdimensional or is it in
Well, the one we saw was invisible. All right. But the reason why we say that, we got its footprint because it landed right next to us and we got its
Do you know
footprint.
what that is, by the way?
About who?
Do you know what? You know when you said they're invisible? I've come across these a lot of the time, and I've used the same technology myself, right? Yeah, and I shouldn't be telling you this because I've been told not before this book comes out. But there is technology. What we use, we can walk through walls, right? Yeah.
Oh, right.
We
Yeah.
can.
We have
Basically, it's like teleportation, right? Yeah. Now,
Right.
the thing is, when you use it, you can teleport, but you can also use it for, like, if you want to go, you know, like invisible and walk through a wall, etc. Whilst you're doing that, you're invisible. You've got to be very, very careful, because there's a certain thing that happens. And if you get stuck and you're walking through a solid matter, right, yeah, and if your teleport system, right, yeah, for some reason loses a signal, right, yeah, or malfunctions, you'll be stuck in whatever you've gone through.
Are you using the four-post interdimensionally? Are you using like you do on a hologram?
I won't tell you. I won't tell you yet, because what it is, I've got to go on this show when this book comes out. But I'll let.
No problem. But see, here's the thing: the Philadelphia experiment, when they put Tesla's invention on there, they put the ship went back in time, but when it came back, all the animals were gone the first time. So they put people on it, and they put a bigger device on it. And during that time, when they sent it back and it came back, 2 people were welded inside the walls. Everybody else was missing. Right.
Was that videotaped, or what proof? Because
what proof of that?
Several stories out there.
No, the only story that's important was Al Bielek.
Thank you very much.
Because he's the only one that went back in time and came back forward. Preston Nichols was involved with it, but he wasn't on the ship when it went back in time. And the other person that's the time traveler said he went back in time. I won't say his name. But the proof on that is very limited. People that know that the Philadelphia experiment disappeared when they were watching it, and things like that. But none of those files have ever been released, and probably will never be released.
It doesn't mean to say, I've heard of this story, obviously, since I was young, about Eldridge and going into different time. The thing is, it didn't have to go into a different time, right? Yeah, you don't have to go back in time or forward in time. If you're using that system, all as you're doing basically is having the ability to disappear and go through solid objects.
No, I understand that. But see, what happened is Tesla, when he invented it, was 1900.
Yeah, but this is before Tesla. I'm talking about alien technology. But I know what you're saying with Tesla.
So I can hear. Okay, y'all each take a turn, because you're discussing the same thing, right? Different time zones, or.
Tesla was actually responsible for bringing quantum physics out to the world. Nobody else was. All right. In the 1900s, when he created the earthquake machine, when he created time travel, when he created all those things, it didn't become real to the world until the government started using his stuff. And that was in 1947. And that's when they created the Eldridge. And that's when they put the ship. They weren't planning on going back in time. They were trying to use it for work. Yeah. And it went back in time by mistake, because they didn't know how to use the invention right. But now the invention is tiny. A person can wear it. In those days, it was a giant machine. My friend put out the most important book in the UFO world, and it's called Sands of Time. And he talked about that, about the person that worked with, the creating of the Montauk Project and the Philadelphia experiment, his son, the son of the person that was responsible for that. And he's in time travel right now. This person's in jail. They won't let him out. They blinded him in jail now. They're doing all kinds of horrible things to this person because he put Sands of Time out 1, 2, and 3. He wanted to put out book 4. He was given an offer about doing a movie, and then they blinded him. They put him in a solitary room. They're doing all horrible things. I'm supposed to have one of his lawyers come on my show real soon. But his truth, most people, he got involved with a money deal. It went bad, so they blame him for that. And that was the reason why they tried to put him in jail. They said they had 150 things against him. They had zero proof of one thing. So, I mean, people that are in their way, like Phil Snyder, Sean David Morton, John Ford. John Ford shot the best video ever of a ship crashing on Long Island. Nobody else has ever topped it because he was there. He got the video. The aliens were laying on the sides of the ship and everything. So, and I saw the video. And to this day, there has nothing been even close to that.
Well, the problem is with that, Tommy, the problem is with that is that you can only say that because you haven't seen anybody else's footage similar. And what you've got to remember, what you're talking about is that, like myself, it's been censored, right, yeah, that it can't come out. You know what I'm saying? So I've got flying saucers that have landed. moving around, going into trees, etc. I've got videos of flying triangles coming out of the bay where I live, you know, two side by side and taking off. It takes them 18 minutes to come out. You know, some of the best footage. I've got flying men. I've put quite a bit up on YouTube and what have you. And the problem is what we're getting, and this is a mindset of the people in this subject, right? Yeah, that somebody comes on TV and because they've been in the military or that somebody who's worked, you know, sort of like in an office, a department, right, yeah, that they take notice of somebody, a civil servant, or somebody who's military or ex-military. Now, there's a saying, never trust a G-man, right? Right, yeah. Now, the thing is, we have this footage going around now. It's been on Christmas on TV with UFOs, the Xmas files. Oh, God. You know, where did they get this from? The point is, we've got cockpit video footage, right, yeah, of supposedly a pilot's cockpit and a UFO, right, yeah? Now, if any of us, and particularly myself, has put videos out there on YouTube or whatever, you'll get people who'll say, oh, out of focus, dark, you know, blurry, you know, sort of like nighttime footage. But these people put something out and everybody's running around cockpit footage from a pilot. It could be an arcade game. It's so grainy. It means nothing. You can't see what they're saying. Oh, this craft. It could be anything, you know. And sort of like, but yeah, it's somebody who's promoting it for one of these TV companies that's out there, and they've got I don't know how many shows, and it's all the same old dribble. You know what I mean? But just because it's got a pilot's name next to it who says he was there, how many pilots, and especially serving pilots, come forward, fighter pilots, and put the name to anything? And especially UFOs.
Well,
something not quite right there.
I did a lecture with Sergeant 18 for the Thunderbirds. The Thunderbirds are people in the United States that served in the Army, that have their licenses, and they all got planes. So I went to a convention. My friend and I were lecturing at it, and every single one of them wanted to talk to us about the UFOs they saw that came up to the ship and everything else. And they all were afraid to talk about it, every single one of them.
RJ, they're great.
My dad never talked about the atom bomb test, right? Yeah, never spoke about it. I found out about it through a friend talking to him who was in the same regiment, right? Yeah, I was listening. He would not talk about it. I only know because I could hear the conversation with my sister, right? Yeah, and we seen all the actual, you know, photographs. And me and my sister like, we never knew this. You know what I mean? This is like 50 years. 50 years and he never spoke about it. So they don't, he's right, they don't talk. You know, he's right. You know, that. So all of a sudden somebody
to speak most of the time to each other. We were somehow they were able to keep our shroud over the subject.
Yeah, but this is and made people think if they talked about it. This is on television. You know, this is on telly.
Now it is, yeah. But we don't know if we can trust whatever we see, right? So it's all about learning what we can trust, and in legal arena, we talk about the chain of evidence, forensics, and who handles the footage, so to speak. If you know whatever the object is, or the asset, or the material versus immaterial, you know, the material.
Yeah, but it's getting it. I've got a piece of craft from Berwyn Mountains. You'll have seen it in newspapers. I'll send you the cuttings. The problem is, right, yeah, it's like we're being blocked. I mean, I just saw something the other day on television, and it said everything, right? Yeah, a person who worked in the UFO department for the MOD turned around, right? Yeah, and said to the people that worked in his office, and this is unbelievable, and it's on UFO Hunters with Bill Burns, and it's on the series, and it's called. It's where there's a tornado in England, right? Yeah. And this person turned around and said, I advised, I told everybody in my department not to create a paper trail, right?
Right.
Don't communicate with the people that are they're sending footage in, they're sending reports in. So they're not communicating back to you. So you don't know whether if they've got your UFO report. You don't know whether they've got and they're not communicating with you, right? Yeah. And he says, "Oh, well, aren't you responsible then?" And this smirk on this person's face. Oh yeah. Well, I suppose yeah. He says we call it working round. Now the thing is, how many people have sent video footage in and photographic evidence into that department? And they've never had confirmation that they've received it. They're not talking to the person. How do we know then if, and you can actually watch this. I think it's called The Storm on UFO Hunters, right? Yeah. How do we know then what that department says is saying is true? Because if they're telling them not to communicate, they're sanitizing information. Who's give them permission to do that? A civil servant.
They've given us this wonderful technology we're using now, and that with you in the UK and Tommy in Hawaii and me in Florida, and we're not being censored right now. That's not saying we won't be in the future, but for right now, we have to trust each other. That's why I formed my company, American Communications Online, and then under that, I still have the old UFO Association, who a lot of people don't know each other. We're just friends, whether we're in uniform or not, but we trust each other. So that's what I'm trying to build, is a directory of trust.
I was told, right, I asked, right, yeah, I was giving video footage, photographic evidence, right, of things in my garden and taking off and flying around in helicopter. It had been, this ball of light had been in my garden when I was filming. Filmed it, jumped over next door neighbour's fence, went round, police helicopter were looking for people who had stolen the car or whatever, and it went up, and I was giving footage to a magazine, and I was writing about other things that I was researching, and a lot of it was my own, and people had sent me video footage and photographic evidence, and it was my own photographic evidence. And you know what? I said to him, how is it? Right, yeah. You've got people talking at the big conference in Leeds and what have you. You're using my footage. You know I'm an abductee. I'm listening to people that are abductees talking. I've got better evidence and better footage, and you should know this because you're using it in your magazine. Oh, we can't talk about bloody aliens with guns. Oh, we can't talk about, oh, you've been abducted and put into an ark. Oh, that doesn't sell bloody magazines. Oh, bloody hell, bloody hell, bloody hell. Oh, it sounds too much like David Icke. And I've got a witness here. Right, yeah. I had 3 witnesses at the time. And my dad turned around and said, you know something? He said, lad, he says, I'd give them nothing anymore. Don't give any more information, your videos, or photographic evidence. So you know what? I didn't from that day on. I didn't. And I just, got into all the newspapers and what have you, until all of a sudden, right, yes, I was on the side of somebody who'd said that they'd witnessed something. And all of a sudden, we have this big group on the internet putting lies up and what have you. And wow, sort of like talk about being censored. You know what I mean? and unbelievable. And then somebody took seriously ill in my family, so I had couldn't be bothered going out filming anymore.
Well, we do recognize fake news and misinformation, disinformation, and information. So we are doing our best in journalism to realize it. You know, we have to state our facts, but we have to cite our sources. And so with you and me and Tommy, unless we've been cloned, people will know you are the author of what you're saying. Tommy is of his story, and I am of my story. But it was Tommy that wanted to start, I guess, making sure we're real or showing up in human form, even though we're old now. It wasn't something I wanted to do for many, many years. But I guess it's gotten easier, huh, Tommy, to do video?
Well, here's a problem. It's easy to do videos, but the problem is, like when you talk about UFOs and everything else, evidence can be faked, especially with videos and things like that. But when you go back to your time frames, we couldn't do that. This person that shot the video in Long Island, it was before they came out with Print Shop and all those programs.
Yeah.
But we shot pictures. We had them analyzed by the top photographers companies in New York City, and they realized that they couldn't be faked and things like that. But the problem is people that don't want the information out, like Bigelow, he brought out MUFON. MUFON's the UFO organization that claims that they document every UFO and all that. They've been doing it for what? 25 years, and they never proved one thing. These people that get all the credit and fame and get people to pay to join and take tests to become a member and all that, they have no proof. Now, Bigelow had my friend from Hawaii come out there. He wanted to buy all his pictures. He had pictures and videos that were shot from planes. That's all he dealt with. UFOs shot in space. Bigelow wanted to buy them. And he goes, no, they're online for free. He goes, no, I want the copyright to them. He goes, no, I can't do that. So he flew him right back to Hawaii. So Bigelow bought out MUFON. He gave him like $87,000 for all their UFO files. They don't prove anything. They don't help people. Like you said, they don't come out. I had serious things going on. They called me up on New Year's Eve a couple of years ago, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, oh, we want to know what, and I said, okay. They never even called me back. They don't want the truth. They want just stories that they can promote. But like you said, I saw two videos that if they were released, they would change everything going on this planet. One was shot of the base on the other side of the moon. Actual footage shot by an astronaut. And I saw a video shot of Kennedy getting shot from the front of the car. All right. Now, both of them would change what we perceive as the truth. Yeah. Now, we have hundreds of videos of 9/11, and they still won't even tell the truth about what happened. Not one of them shows anything concrete. Even the Pentagon, when it got hit, they have more cameras over that square area than any other place in the United States, and they don't have a video of the ship coming down and crashing into the Pentagon. I mean, they cover the most important truth to the world. Now, Putin, before Trump got elected, and this is no lie, I had the video, but it was in Russian. He said he wanted Trump to tell the truth about 9/11, and he wanted Trump to come out and tell the truth about aliens. And then Trump said on Russian TV, they're working with 37 races. 2 races want to destroy the planet. I know we had 3 wars in space, which they don't even talk about, and how they did it and how they stopped it.
Oh, yeah. I think I know about that, my friend. Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. I want to bring, whatever we can put out there, how is it going to help people? I'm at the point right now, I was in the UFO world since I was 6. I was born in 52. But now it's like, so what? What do you think they're going to do when they do come here? What do you think they're going to do when they say, okay, we're here to help you, or any of those words, which they're not going to say? I mean, if you watch the movie V, that's how it'll go down if they want to do it that way. But
the thing is, it's happening now. It's the thing is, from my point of view, what I've seen, right, it's already happening. You know, when I was taken, I came back, I've seen the crap that's going on now, and this is all part of it. You know, this is all the numbing down of people being human to each other. You know, people being murdered in the streets, and people usually walking past, and people being raped, and people just walking past. And
it's disgusting.
You've just lost. You've lost that humanity. It's all right, Christmas, you've got all decorations up. It's about presents. You know what I mean? It's not
That's a
about
good word. I
yeah,
use the word morals. Humanity is really
nothing.
important, and morals are
Yeah,
pretty important as well. Both of them together make society work.
yeah,
And when
yeah.
you erase both of them, you got what you just said.
Nothing. You've got
It's
nothing.
sad.
And this is what they're wanting. Because it's like, God forbid, if anything happens, they say, "Oh, we've got the military." The military, well, they're going to put the guns to your head and say, sort of like, right, go here, FEMA camps and what have you. I appreciate what military does, but unfortunately, from where I come from, what we've done, not a good thing. And the troops on this planet will just do the same thing. They've got orders, and they take orders from the hierarchies and the officers, and they do what they're told. And if they're told, you know what I mean, they're not bothered. All they'll do is they'll bring somebody in, a different regiment from a different part of the country that has no interest of your, the people from where you're from, and sort of like they won't bother because they're not going to attack anybody's family because they're not from that area. That's what they used to bring, other regiments from different parts of Britain. And this is what they're about. They've got a job to do and they'll do it. And it's frightening, really. It's frightening.
In your country, I don't know much about what they're doing there. The underground cities in the United States are incredible, and what they're preparing for and everything else. Do you know much about that in your country?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, there is underground cities, sort of like going back even before World War II. In fact, one of our projects, you have NASA over in America. We had a project over here, up on the west coast, up going towards Scotland there. And the thing is, this is what people don't realise. We had to give our technology, and we had to give a lot of things during the Second World War for Americans to basically come in. Right, yeah, they didn't want us to. We couldn't have a space project. It had to go back to America. There are a lot of things that we couldn't do because Churchill had signed a deal. Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we were part of that. Right, yeah. And the thing is, what did we get? As in the technology from the Second World War, from Germany, which everybody knows, it was alien technology. Even von Braun even said so, sort of like these things from. So how comes we didn't get a share out of it? We didn't get a share out of anything, to be quite honest, only a bill, which we paid. I think it were in the trade deficit we paid in 2000, I think it was. So, we had an amazing project and some amazing spacecraft and what have you that were flying, and the like interplanetary craft and what have you, sort of like, but no, sort of like, so the thing is, all this technology has come on now, like 70 years in advance, but it's still nowhere near what the aliens have got themselves. I mean, I've seen things I could only call it magic. I could only call it magic what I've seen.
We're getting on the hour, and it's really hard to load these with video over about an hour, Tommy. So let's cut it off for an hour. Would you like to do this again? And this will be under our, I guess, Alien Contact Org or UFO Association, and I'll list your photos that I have headshot in this video. And then from then on, I'll try whatever you want to do. Send me a little blurb, Tommy, on you and you on RJ, and I'll put it on American Communications Online. I guess we'll start there because I'm trying to save money doing all this.
Send me the link as well, because I want to put it on Facebook, Twitter, and linked.
Sure.
Good luck with your book. I'm glad. I'm working on a book now, but I don't even want to talk about the topic because it's pretty, most people don't even want to hear the word.
Well, I'll list you as UFO authors in my club, ACO Club, okay? And UFO Association. I'll list you both.
But here's the thing. We have to work at an idea. What can we do for mankind to change what's happening? Not technology is not going to make us spiritual. It's not going to make us aware, and it's not going to make us compassionate people. And nowhere in history for 20,000 years have we ever been compassionate. We keep losing that more and more because of aliens and everything else.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to cut this off, Tommy.